dear students, a very warm welcome to Ritu maths classes. Today we have taken up the topic of solution of a quadratic equation by factorization. So we will be solving the given quadratic equation by factorization. Since we have two methods of solving the quadratic equation in our 10th class syllabus, one is by factorization and another is by using quadratic formula. So today we will be learning about the method of factorization. This method you have already done in your class 8th and class 9th as well. This is also known as solution of a quadratic polynomial, that you have done up to a polynomial by splitting the middle term. So you used to get the zeros of the polynomial. Here we will be getting the roots of the equation. Like a polynomial does have zeros, similarly an equation does have roots. So when we say roots, it means we have to find out those values of the variable which satisfy the given equation. So let's solve it by factorization, by splitting the middle term. I will be writing down the given quadratic equation first of all. Now I have to look for two numbers whose sum is -5 and product is 3 into 2, 6. So very easy numbers, -2x minus 3x. When I add -2 minus 3 gives me -5, and if I multiply -2 with -3 gives me a positive 6. 3 2s are 6, which was required. So now I have to take some common factor out from the very first two terms, that is 2x, x minus 1, and similarly I have to take some common factor from the last two terms, it is -3. We have to make the factorization in such a way that we can ultimately have one factor common from these both two terms. If this factor common comes out, it means you are doing correct. So the product of two factors is 0, either has to be 0. So either x minus 1 is equal to 0 or 2x minus 3 is equal to 0. Because the product can be 0 only if any one of them is 0. So that's what I have taken. This gives us x is equal to 1 and this gives us x is equal to 3 by 2. Since it was a quadratic equation, so it was in degree 2, so it could have two roots. So I have got two solutions of x, and if you want to verify these two roots, you can put it in the given equation and check for the LHS value should be equal to the RHS value. Let's start with another question. This is next example. This is example number 4. Find the roots of the equation 6x square minus x minus 2 is equal to 0. I will be using the method of factorization. We are going to do the practice of factorization only today. For today's topic is solution of a quadratic equation by factorization. So that's what I am going to use. I have written down the quadratic equation first of all. I want two numbers whose sum is -1 and product is -2 into 6, that is -12. So very easy numbers are available. +3 and -4. +3 when added with -4 gives me -1, and +3, positive 3 when multiplied with -4, 3 into -4 gives us -12, which was required. Now we have to take some common factor from the first two terms. So I have taken 3x common. 6 was the total number, 3 is a common factor out, so you are left with 2. X square, x is out, so 2x is the final term inside the factor, plus 1. Same here, I want some common factor from the last two terms. I am going to take 2 in the negative because both the terms are negative. So the internal factor is 2x plus 1. This internal factor should always repeat if you are doing the correct question. If you are doing something incorrect, if you are doing some error, then this factor may not repeat. So that's a recognition. So I am going to take this whole factor 2x plus 1 out. From the very first term, 3x is left, and the last term, -2. The product of two factors is 0, so either has to be 0, either 2x plus 1 is equal to 0 or 3x minus 2 is equal to 0. This side gives us one value of x and the another side will give us the another value of x. So these are the answers. If you want to verify whether you have done it correct or not, you can put it in the given equation. LHS value when you put x is equal to minus half should come out to be 0, or you are checking for x is equal to 2 by 3. So you can put this 2 by 3 in LHS in place of x and it should come out to be 0. Let's continue with today's practice of solution of a quadratic equation by factorization with another example. I've taken up example 5. Find the roots of this equation. Let's note down the equation very carefully. First of all, I am going to use the splitting the middle term. So I am going to split the middle term in such a way that when I add these two numbers, I get minus 2 times root 6, and when I multiply them, I get 3 2s are 6. So I will be splitting it this way. So you can simply see minus 1 time root 6 minus 1 time root 6. When you add it up, it's minus 2 times root 6. When you multiply minus root 6 with minus root 6, negative negative is positive. Root 6 into root 6 gives you 6. Also 3 2s are 6. So the numbers are correct. Now to take the common factor out from the first two terms, we have to be clear. This 3 can be written as root 3 into root 3 x square minus root 6 can be written as root 3 into root 2x. Similarly, I'll be writing this also so that in the next step I can take some common factor out. Now look at the first two terms. Very easily you can take root 3x as a common factor, and the internal factor will be root 3x minus root 2. From these two terms I am going to take common minus root 2 so that the internal factor repeats. You can see I have taken root 2 common. So here I am left with root 3x. Negative I have taken common, so I have to put a negative so that negative negative becomes a positive. And 1 time root 2 is out, so another root 2 is inside the factor. Again this whole factor has repeated, so we are doing it correct. Let's take this common factor out. The first term, and this is from the second term. The product of two factors is 0, so either has to be 0, either root 3x minus root 2 is equal to 0, or root 3x minus root 2 is equal to 0. This gives us the values of x, which can be written as root 2 by root 3, that is 2 by 3 whole under the root. Similarly here you can write it x is equal to root 2 by root 3, that is 2 by 3 whole under the root. As you can see that we are getting the same values of x. Yes, we can have the same values of x in the end possible, because somewhere if factorized, this equation is going to be a perfect square. You could check it here also. Root 3x minus root 2, root 3x minus root 2. So that is root 3x minus root 2 whole square is equal to 0. But since we are working in a quadratic equation, so we need to write down the same root, the repeated root 2 times. So take care of this thing. Let's take another question from exercise 4.2. First question, fourth part. Find the roots of the equation by factorization. This is the quadratic equation given to us. Note down the equation very carefully. Since the last number, that is the constant, is in fractions, so I would prefer taking LCM. 8 2s are 16x square minus 8x plus 1 is equal to 0. Next step, 0 into 8. Cross multiplication gives us 0. So no effect on the numerator. Now I am left with a quadratic equation whose middle term can be split. Let's think of two numbers whose sum is minus 8 and the product is 1 into 16, 16. So the numbers are minus 4 and minus 4. Let's see. When we add minus 4, it gives us minus 8. Fine. Multiply minus 4 with minus 4. Negative negative becomes positive. 4 4s are 16 as we required. Okay. So let's take some factor common from the first two terms. I have taken 4x common, and similarly some factor common from the last two terms. I am repeating here, if this factor matches, you can take this factor common, 4x minus 1. The result will be 4x minus 1 into 4x minus 1 equals to 0. The product of two factors is 0. So either first factor is 0 or second factor is 0. Any of them has to be 0. So it gives us the value of x as 1 by 4 on both these sides. So that is again a repeated root, as we had done in the previous question also. We may get a repeated root, we may get distinct roots depending upon the quadratic equation. So this is a final answer. If you want to verify these two answers, you can put it in the given equation in LHS. It should come out to be equal to RHS. So if you have liked my video, please do like it and share it with your friends, and do not forget to subscribe to my channel Ritu Garg Maths Classes. Thank you.